So, first of all, thanks for taking the time to do this interview.
It's no problem at all.
Awesome to have you back after quite a long hiatus, I suppose.
I feel the same.
So it's good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
Yeah.
But of course it's all depending on how good you basically feel. So everybody already knows that I went away because I wasn't feeling too good.
So, what was it that kind of brought you to that place where you felt like you just needed to fully bail on it for a while and recover?
Massive alienation, depression and anxiety concerning everything. And the depression and all anxiety, those were medicated and therapy for a couple of decades, but no help. That well, you try this one and then you try this one and then you try a cocktail of these, and you kind of get better for a little while, and then you go back and then you go back, and then in the end you find out that of course it happens because we were medicating symptoms. So I have this birth defect called ADHD. I'm wild and impulsive.
Well, of course, everyone starts talking online, so there's always these rumors flying about that now that you're back, are you going to come back to Nightwish? So do you want to say anything on that as to whether there's any chance of you rejoining them, or are you done with that time in your life?
Well, I think that my leaving was also a bit of a hard blow for some people there. With some I get along, with some they think that I might have left them in a lurch. And sometimes some feelings even overlap. These are not emotionally very, easy things to handle. Mm. You can be grateful and angry at the same time for some people. And for now it seems that the guys themselves are not going to be doing any shows, and they're going to be doing an album. They got a bass player, they got a vocalist. So I'm not really expecting anything.
Fair enough. So you do seem like you're in a pretty good mood these days. So what did you get up to on your break to help you kind of recover and relax? Did you find any new creative outlets or anything like that?
Not really new creative outlets. I just needed to go away, like leave basically everything. So I got myself a kind of a base in Spain where I went and stayed for quite a while. Just came here to do some Raskasta joulua shows last year and some summer shows. And I just wanted to have time where there's no people, no business, nothing affecting me. And then I also called my psychiatrist and therapist here in Finland. They gave me some pointers what to do, and then I went to already like a year and a half back. I went to a private sector in Spain, went to a psychiatrist, then to a neuropsychologist for tests, and tests were very positive. I got it. Attention disorder, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know.
Well, so what are your plans for your solo career right now? You've obviously got this tour that you're doing right now, and of course, anytime you share anything online, you get 100 people saying, "Marko, please come here, please come here." So
I would very much like to do shows here and there and travel with the band. I got a good bunch of guys. They're relaxed and it's an easy group. And I love doing shows. I hate what goes on around it, like traveling in hotels where you gotta, you go into a box that either is a box or has a goddamn crystal chandelier, and you still have that miasma left there by thousands of wanking, miserable travel merchants. So yeah, that kind of things I don't really care about, but I do love making shows. They are a very positive thing for my brain chemistry.
What about collaborations? Like you do the Raskasta joulua, of course, and you've done stuff with Delane and all sorts of other bands. So Ayreon, for example. So do you have any other collaborations lined up, or do you have any collaborations you'd like to do?
At the moment, not lined up. But if you know Brian May's manager, and they are going to be doing some live shows, they would need a singing bass player.
Well then.
I'm not expecting a call from there either.
I don't suppose you're on the roster for the Arion show this year, are you?
I don't think so. And to be honest, I'm very I deal with what's in front of me. Like today I know I'm playing in Hämeenlinna because we're here at the backstage and all that, but necessarily if we're on tour, if it was yesterday, I might not know because I'm not driving. And it's just a kind of a habit that I've acquired already quite a while back, that I try to not clutter my head with too many things to remember or think about. And again, we know the reasons now. It's a good system for people.
Well, with that in mind, I did see you at some of the Arion shows in the past. So what was it like working in that intense 3-day period with so many other people and so much going on? I imagine that's very different from a normal tour.
Yeah. I did like the thing, and it was a huge happening and a lot of great vibes and everything. Only thing that was problematic to me at the time was myself. I wasn't in a very good place myself. But well, that kind of thing, it actually lifted me up.
So regarding this tour right now, the first thing I was most curious about was, because you have the language in both albums, how did you choose which songs you were going to sing in which language?
We played the originals. Whichever was written in English is played in English, whichever was written first in Finnish is played in Finnish.
Oh, very interesting. I always had thought Minä olen tie would have been one of the ones written in English first, so...
Well, of course, it's got the biblical connotations in both languages that might affect you.
It's true. I haven't read much of the Bible in Finnish, so...
Me neither.
Or at all. But...
Well, actually, I went through the whole thing when I was in high school, just as a curiosity thing. Came to conclusions that still hold. This thing doesn't make any fucking sense.
Maybe it would have made less sense to me back when I was a Christian in high school if I had read more of it, but I thought it was so boring I couldn't handle it.
That's what it was.
That's
very
also
much.
Why I never got through the Silmarillion. It was the same kind of boring, but in fantasy.
That one I read all the way through. It was more interesting.
I think I got stuck in Genesis in that one, and I was like, this is the Bible, but fantasy. They tricked me into reading the Bible. Alright, so the other thing I wanted to ask was, how did you get your band together for this? Because you surely know tons and tons of musicians, so how did you pick all these guys to work with?
Well, Tuomas on guitar, Willie on keyboards. That's pretty much of a no-brainer because I've known the guys for quite a while, from playing with Raskasta Joulua, and the guys are playing there too. So, yeah, and in fact, well, when I needed a guitar player, I just figured that it's easier if I ask Tuomas, if I ask Erkka, then we're gonna be having a situation where he's the boss at the moment at times, and then I would be boss at times. I don't want that kind of a, contradiction. So I figured that I'll ask Tuomas if he wants to join the group, and also Willie. And then Kaitsu was actually at first gonna be coming over to see the drum stuff, but he managed to renovate his house and break himself. So then we just, Tuomas knows Anssi well, and I've known him for quite a years too, so Tuomas figured that should we ask Anssi? Well, if he's got time and interest, let's do it. Here we are. It's nice. Anssi also, he's a very, very solid rhythm machine. It's really easy to play bass over his rhythms.
Yeah, seeing him perform, he just looks like a little machine there, just no fuck ups, nothing, just pure rhythm coming out.
Yeah, he's got the groove.
Well, the next thing I wanted to ask about was these 3 covers that you're doing. And of course, first of all, like, you had this whole band, Sapaattivuosi, like, way back in the day that was Finnish covers?
Still have an album in the works, which I guess, if I now feel better, I might have time to look at some of the lyric translations and finish that goddamn album. It bothers me that it's waiting there.
How long has it been waiting?
Don't ask me.
Since the last one?
So, long. Years.
So you're a big Tony Iommi fan.
Yeah, well, you can say it that way, but to be honest, I'm a huge Black Sabbath fan because, well, it's my childhood musical romance. Being 9 years old and hearing Master of Reality, really gloomy, doomy, heavy stuff, I loved it immediately.
Incredible. So then the other one, of course, I don't know a whole lot about Hector because I've only been here so long, but Olet lähteton puu. So how did you pick that one, and what kind of history do you have listening to Hector?
Well, that's also something that has quite a few years back, but quite a few years before it, because the album where that song is from Hector was something that my dad actually had. I heard it when I was pretty young, and I was well taken about the fantastic stuff that he was writing in the lyrics and all that. So it was just kind of a thing that we were looking for covers that weren't obvious, but we could do a thing. Then I had this easy little bass riff that actually fit the song, so we started to do the arrangement around that.
Awesome. Well, and of course, Bowie. Everyone loves Bowie. That's interesting though, because that was actually the second cover of Starman that I've heard this year.
All right.
So
I'm out of the picture. Who did the first one?
young band from the U.S. called Classless Act.
Okay.
Excellent artists. Really good kids. Very nice
Okay,
people.
because I'm a little bit jaded with the world of music and rock and roll. It's very hard to impress me anymore. I know the recipes and the arrangements and all that, and I tend to hear quite a lot of things immediately, so you can't really hide some messages from me.
So how did you choose, because he's got such a huge discography, how did you choose Starman specifically?
Again, to put a little bit of the, sci-fi connection there.
Awesome.
Of course, well, spiders from Mars and all that, how would I say it? The whole thing that he built the world and the characters and everything, there probably would be more also, but this one has a really nice chorus too.
It does.
And then of course if we go into the heavy metal and progressive metal side, where they are putting us into, you usually tend to play songs more in minors. So Starman is actually one of those that, it starts with minors from the verse, but the chorus is full on major happiness.
Have you ever thought about doing something like that yourself, if you like the fantasy sci-fi stuff, of creating your own kind of vocal universe, I suppose? Where
a theme. I've been thinking about it, but I got some ideas about that too, but they haven't gone too far.
Well, one of the other things I wanted to ask about was, is there any chance for any more music from Tarot coming out?
This is a question that has been coming up lately quite a lot since we published the info that we're going to be doing a couple of shows. But it's just those couple of shows. Because this came from our friend who was organizing the happening. How would you guys like to do this? And it's a hometown happening where you collect all kinds of old bands and musicians from the town, and they come with their old lineups to do. Well, we're one of those. We just happen to get known a bit more.
Awesome. Well, so the other thing that I've never seen you do before is play the cello. So is that like a secret talent you've always had, or is that a more recent thing?
It's not a secret talent. I've had a cello for a few years. I took a few lessons in Kuopio from an Italian guy who was working with the town orchestra, but then he got another job in Norway, which apparently paid more because he went there. So after that, I haven't taken lessons. Well, I got into the mental troubles and everything, so I just basically stayed out of everything. So I had to start finding out how the hell did you hold the bow and all that again. And I mean, I'm lousy. Lousy as a cello player. I'm a full-blown beginner. But I can make the sounds out of it and press a few things. I mean, of course, the relations of the, you know, pitch and all that, you got a certain familiarity because I've always been playing something with neck. You just don't have the frets, but you have the sense of how things and intervals between the notes will get tighter the higher of the neck you go and all that.
Oh. Your teacher failed you. See, when I was learning violin as a kid, they put like tape frets on my violin neck so that I would know, and then I just learned the muscle memory, and then so it kind of programmed it in for me.
Well, I could do that myself, of course, because I can find the places. In fact, I have one little piece of tape right at the side of the neck. There is one bass note which somehow always seemed to go, with my relativity thinking, always seemed to go a little bit too low in the pitch. So I put a tape in there. Fuck, put your finger there.
Nice. So are there any other instruments that you'd like to fiddle around with, so to speak, or even if you're not playing them, incorporate into your songs?
Well, that's a loaded question because, well, there's great instruments and great ethnic instruments that give you a nice sense of coming from somewhere else and all that. But I mean, the abundance of musical instruments, ways to play them, way to write songs, what to use, where it's yeah, you got a whole universe of things there. But from, for instance, samples that I've been using, or I've been using with some guys with albums, with the solo album, we wanted to have a couple of screeches producing a little bit of uneasiness, so I just took the cello bow and a metal, like a note stand, and scratched its side at the bathroom where you get the really sharp echoes with the sound as well. Nice. That kind of things. A bottle of CRC, like a electrical thing cleaner. You tapped it with a for instance a pen, and it gives a really nice ping, and then you shake it so that the fluid goes like wobble in it, then it gives very like ping. We used that when we did a cover of Genesis Mama with Taro Boys. We incorporated that into the rhythm track. There's all kinds of little things.
So everything is your instrument if you want it to be.
Yes, everything is usable. That's one of my actual, principles with the music, that you can put anything with anything. Just pick your time right and it sounds great.
Out of curiosity, do you listen to Devin Townsend?
Some of his stuff, yes. I was checking out the video of the new song, the first one that came out. Was it this year or already by the end of last year? But I didn't go deeper into that.
I just noticed he uses some weird samples. Like you can hear like cats meowing and stuff in his music sometimes. So, and he's got one great music video where it's him sitting at a table and there's a green screen behind him and he's just listening to the song and kind of like quietly rocking out by himself. But my theory is that everything that's popping up on the screen behind him is like this kind of weird trip of what he's seeing in his head while the song is playing.
Sounds like it. That would make sense. But of course with Devin it's also very good that he doesn't try to make everything sensible. I mean, the mainstream recipes are so fucking apparent these days. They just run through the same chords and put a couple of different melody lines on it and then you got it again. So yeah, I'm very pleased that there are people who do a little bit more on the side of so-called popular music.
Yeah, well, I think in the past, I don't know, like, how many years ago this would have been now, but you had some kind of words towards the popular music scene with all of these, like, American Idols and things like that.
Yeah, with these TV reality competitions and everything, for instance, like Idols. TV company gets a hell of a load of advertising money because it's a prime time, like a gatherer of viewers. They get a hell of a load of advertising money. The phone companies get a shitload of money from the calls and the text messages. And then these people are performing for free, hoping to win and get a record deal and everything. I mean, it's a great thing. I've been through it and it was nice. I was very happy when I got my first one and all that. But I'm still on the opinion that if this, let's say it's Jim gets 30,000 calls and 50,000 SMSs telling that Jim is the best. They voted for him. I think that in all honesty, you would have to cut some percentage from the money that has been coming from voting him. That would be proper. It also would make the people who are in the competition to really inspire them to do their stuff well. If you already start getting money, that would be fair and it would be great for their performances.
But
then again, we know what the corporate politics are. Everything for me who sits on a chest.
Well, speaking of TV in that sense then, I think you won the Mast Singer in Finland, didn't you?
Yep.
What was that like? Was that any fun?
It was a huge fun because I mean, yeah, you can start from scratch. You can go without any kind of like preconceptions and things like that, and you let them choose. So you can suggest some songs yourself and you take the good ones, and then they suggest some other songs which are totally out of your genre and everything, or what you would even want to do. So you end up doing a lot of different things. It is as an artist, it helps you to maybe grow a team, and also it was good fun to feed the wrong preconceptions of the people and the judges. Like when they started to go that with the Elton Johns, there's some rainbow people vibe here. Do I sense that there's something real in it? So of course we started to talk with the choreographer that how do I get some kind of ballet, sensitive movements and sort of like let's put them more on the gay track.
I love it.
Yeah, it was fun.
It seems like a little like something different to do, if nothing else, I imagine. But
I'll throw an extra question in. You are featured on a lot of reaction videos, of vocal analysis videos. So, like, since you have been talking exactly about how well you see the patterns, how you're like bored with like the generic stuff at this point with your experience, which vocalists would you say that you personally admire from the professional standpoint of what they do?
Professional standpoint. Well, of course, my favorites from the tender years. Those used to be like Ronnie James Dio or Rob Halford, these guys, and they're legends by their own right. But of course, there's a lot of great vocalists still around, like Miles Kennedy, for instance. He's great. I really like his sound and everything. But with vocalists, I'm basically very, very like open to different styles and different musically as well. I come from a fruitful background, even though of course, it somehow shows that I love the heavy stuff quite a lot. But yeah, with vocalists, I've been really a big admirer of, for instance, Kate Bush and Tori Amos. These ladies might actually be responsible for me to building up a little bit more sensitive side of voice too.
with that in mind, are there any like young new bands that have actually like surprised you with how good they are these days?
Not that much, to be honest, because it's probably my own fault. I don't really look for stuff that much these days because, well, you get fed up with it when you look for stuff in YouTube or streamers or something. Because I've tried, and you go through a billion albums, you find one good song, and that's it when you got a lot of stuff on the table to offer. Most of it is just bulk. What would I say? With the young bands, something. Well, none of them is really that young anymore. From like a prog metal side, Carnival did some great stuff. They haven't done anything visible in years now. Catatonia has been around quite a long. I really like their albums too. Very doomy and gloomy. And there we have a totally different style of a vocalist with Jonas. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. There we have a totally different style of a vocalist, and he's doing fucking great job. I really like his sound.
Oh, he's been with Arion as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's actually the first time we ever met personally.
Dang, there's, I
Yeah.
think, is it Comatose that he sang on live? And
Yes.
I think there's been 3 different singers on that song. All of them are amazing. It's the best.
Lande was on the album. He's of course, he's pretty much great whatever he does.
All right, well, that's about it for my question. Yeah, is there anything you feel like sharing or anything you want to say to the people who are watching?
Sharing. I could say that from my sci-fi history, if you need a proper space opera to get into, read Werner Vinge, Fire Upon the Deep.
Excellent.
Yeah, a really flamboyant name as well. Fire Upon the Deep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so any last words then?
It's been a pleasure.